All right, Dancing DM, what do we got going for video today? Well, DM, we have a community response post that you yourself made. Oh yeah, that's right. Let's get into it. I'm a Diablo partner currently with Blizzard. What I do is on the occasion I get the opportunity to send feedback to Blizzard and let them know currently both how I as well as other people in the community are feeling about their game. What I did in this post is I said everything in this post would be sent to Blizzard. I said these are the things that I currently am acknowledging and expect that people want changes on, but I do tend to get negative after a while, so I'm balancing that out with community feedback. Let me know where you guys are at with this. This is sort of a grounding wire to the community, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go over and look at the top posts and see what people say, and then I'm going to write up some of the top posts and kind of a breakdown for Blizzard, and I'll send them over there and we'll see what they say about the feedback. Now, so starting from the top, right off the bat, the very first one we see is options to recycle garbage runes without using embers. This is kind of an interesting one. I think what he's saying is we have in-game this whole bunch of runes at the moment that aren't very useful. If you are doing things like rifts, the class-bound cosmetics must be changed to account-bound. So whenever you purchase cosmetics, like let's say you buy the Battle Pass cosmetic on the Necro, it's only on the Necro forever. This is something we've been complaining about, completely agree. Create a queue system for Keons to remove the need to create a makeshift line. This could be an option. I think that mostly Keons is something that I think this fits within the lore of the system, where really it's supposed to be like, hey, there's corrupt Immortals and they're getting the rewards, etc. Because you can actually decide if people are allowed not in there by setting them as elite or not. If you're not elite, you can't get into Keons from what I understand, and you have to manually do that. So I think this is actually one of the systems of the Immortal that's supposed to be like a corrupt thing. Like they get to decide whether or not you get into the Keons from what I understand. Fix the Frozen Heart freezing teammates. I actually had no clue about this. That's hilarious. Frozen Hearts freeze teammates? Okay, that's hilarious. Essence transfer for green sets. This is something that I've advocated directly to them already. I've already talked to them about this. I've already got a response about this, and I've already talked about this in the video. I'm not sure that this is coming. This is something that I'm going to continue to ask for and send feedback on, but my response to this one, it has so far has not been good. Essence transfer for invocations is interesting because I think one of the problems we have in the game, and they already addressed this by buffing the invocation drops for items that have 2 magic stats or higher, is that you can get items that are higher combat rating but don't have invocations, so you get this decision. Like currently I'm wearing a piece that's technically 1 combat rating lower than my triple row stat, but it has an invocation on it, so it's better to use. Transfer warband mechanics to clans. I don't think this is going to happen. I think the warband system is here to stay, and I think that primarily the update around the warband system has already happened. Dungeon difficulty scales with player count. I would like this, or at least cut it in half down to 2. That way 2 and 1 are the same or something. Basically soloing dungeons, there's not really a reason to do. It takes way too long. It's quicker to find a party even on a dead server than it is to solo a dungeon, even if you have wings. More freedom to mix and match skill essences. I'm going to put essence on any part of your gear. This could really break up the builds a bit. I think that this would completely change the way that they balance the game, because imagine you can put Dark Curse pants on 5 items. Now your Dark Curse for, you know, the Necromancer is really, really popping off. While we're seeing here, we got 1 new comment already. Let's see what the new comment says before we go back to it. I would love to see something between the Hall difficulties. We have to keep people from being stuck to Hell 2, Hell 3. Put a midway Hell level or open Paragon. I don't think this changes anything. Personally, I think the problem is people just need to run their dungeons, which are the difficulty problem we've already talked about in order to get the combat rating. More freedom to mix and match skill matches. Just got off that one. More freedom to mix and match warband remnants. That's probably a good point. Remnants could be buffed a little bit, although I would say the biggest problem is some of the rows are just significantly better than the others, so you kind of feel like yesterday's news when you're one of the not so wanted type of rows. It can feel bad. More storage, 100%. They're already aware of this. I think they're working on this. Better stat distribution on item strength intelligence must be prioritized over willpower, vitality, fortitude. This is an interesting point. I think what he's saying is you can get exceptional doubles that don't have the primary stat, which can be quite a few as bad. They're not quite as exceptional as they look. Decent points there on that guy. Next guy on the list also want cosmetic changes. Warband points from open world farm and dungeons with your warband members. I completely agree with this one. I think this is a fantastic advice. I think that adding You know how we have like a 5% magic find bonus? We already know that they can detect when 4 warband members are together. Just have it, instead of it like also dropping gems, just have it drop some warband points, some kind of currency that we can turn in with a warband trader that will give us those points. Really easy to do. And open world farming with your warband is something that people a lot of times do literally anyway. I think this is a fantastic suggestion. More valuable rewards for climbing raid and defense leaderboards. Yeah, currently all you really get is the profile picture. We've had ours since launch. Also keep in mind there's not that many people on servers sometimes, so sometimes like more or less the entire people that are actually playing the game can get these icon rewards. Only being able to hold 1 place per challenge rift leaderboard per person. This is a massive problem. If you're a well, you can lock out the entirety of the crystals that are used to upgrade people's secondary set pieces. This can be locked out entirely by just spamming the leaderboard with different people, making you the only person really on the leaderboard. Dungeon speedrun leaderboards. This would be interesting. I actually think this might revitalize dungeons just a little bit. Personally, huge fan. DPS meters, this is already in the game with the event that happens at noon server time every time. You can see your DPS meter and compare it with other people in the boss. This is how I knew I was doing good damage on things like my Necromancer when I was there. And it did actually count your undead damage too. More viable build for solo and group content. Seriously, it's Season 5 and Banner is still meta. So the seasons in this game are basically battle pass seasons. They're not actually in-game seasons, but I understand his point. One thing I will say is that the first couple updates where we were receiving legendary items with every update were a way bigger deal than I even gave them credit for. Like, constantly getting new legendary items changes up the blood a lot of the Necromancer. Like, the last video I just posted was me trying out the new Necromancer item, and I actually really liked the new Necromancer skull item, in my opinion. So I think this is actually a good point. Refunds for gyms that are broken in classes like Necro, Bloodsoaked Jade, it's false advertising. I don't think Bloodsoaked Jade is false advertising. It says damage you deal, not damage your summons deal. They are different in this game, but I do agree that the Bloodsoaked Jade should probably increase your Necro damage, as you would think your damage means all the damage you and your summons are doing. They're different stats, but it is a little bit BS, and plus I am a Necro, I have a Bloodsoaked Jade. I felt like it was a little bit of BS when I got that up and realized that, but it is kind of what it is. Necro minion damage added to raids so they can get glory chests. I feel like this might already be a thing. I don't know what it is, but I've got the glory chest before as Necromancer, so either this is already a thing or somehow my basic attack was going crazy. Ways to grind resonance. This is basically the biggest problem in the game. Somebody finally said it. So this, in my personal opinion, is the single largest area of improvement, and the community has recognized this and is continuing to say this. So what this is resonance is basically legendary gems. JT's video stated he thinks we need legendary crest a day. I think that is a fantastic way to start. I think we also need ways in-game to grind resonance. We need ways to be able to grind more legendary crests. Rare crests do not increase your resonance. I don't want to hear about it. 1-star gems are eventually only gem fragments, even to free-to-play people, and even once you get to that point, rare crests don't even have the potential to drop 2 stars. The drop rate on 1 low is very low. Significant upgrades require significant progress, and it's not possible to do that as a free-to-play with rare crests, in my own personal opinion. Not at a pace that is quick enough to matter for the longevity of this game. How long this game will have left in it is literally not long enough for free-to-play people to be able to grind resonance to any reasonable amount. The game will be dead because there won't be enough electricity left on the planet before people are able to complete this. So I do actually believe, in my own personal opinion, that this is the most obvious one. Heroic Dungeon Mode with vastly improved drop and drop quality. This guy's full of good ideas. This is actually another really good idea, in my personal opinion. Having heroic dungeon mode, like on dungeons, to make them harder. Let's say you double the difficulty of them, but it triples the drop rate or something. Okay, or you increase their combat rating by like 500 or something. I could definitely see heroic dungeon mode actually having some weighted benefits in terms of easeability of the program, like, oh, they just got to make it increase the combat rating. improving the drop rates could give us a reason to look into the future, and could also be a little bit of a solve for the complaints from more of the in-game players where all we're doing is farming sets. It might make that a little bit easier. I could understand that point. I actually think this guy's a great point. Smart loot, set items and stats needed for your class. Agreed. Think it's too late, but coming from a warband, that great group, no one cared to log in anymore with the new defense. Seems pointless. Okay, I think it's too late as well, my friend, with the warband stuff. Giant thumbs up to Rarefied. I actually think he had a bunch of some rarefied comments. I think this guy has something interesting. Redecorate the West March and any festival events. I actually completely agree with this. Having the holidays look like holiday, like having scary, spooky skeletons and like spider webbing and stuff could look pretty cool. A little bit of artwork, but could look pretty great and actually get a feeling of like the game being alive. Add mid-bosses to all dungeons and let them have a chance to drop set gear. I think any bosses that are bosses in there should just have a chance to drop set gear. Like at Pit of Anguish, there's 2 bosses before the pit. Both of them should have a chance. In Mad Kings, you have the Giant Wraith. You have 2 bosses. You have the skeleton guy, and then you have the Giant Wraith guy. Both of them should have a chance. Even if it's lower than the boss, or it's the same drop rate as like the chest, that's fine. But what we need is, again, we need a drop rate buff for these items. Again, Heroic Dungeon could be a way to do this. Events have a specific set of NPCs to talk to for you to interact, not just a page for you to click. The way the event is, it literally feels like login rewards every single day. Like, I haven't felt interacted with any event except the Fractured Plains personally. Well, that's not true. The event that shows up at noon every day, I actually quite like that one. Fix malfunction legendary gems. Yes, this is obvious. Fix the BG brackets, remove Susan Express. So he just wants some of the spam bothers finally removed. He wants the gems fixed. He wants the glitches fixed. That's all reasonable. Susan Express, that's just a chat bot. I mean, they're going to keep creating bots to do chatting. That's a problem in every game. I would like to see this. Timer for the hidden dungeon to know when it's going to disappear. I didn't realize this was a problem. I probably don't do enough of the hidden layers to understand this problem, but okay, I'll take opinion on it. Counter for pity drop, 5-star gem. I don't think they're ever going to pity the quality of the 5-star gems. I think they're... Oh, you know what? I was taking this as he wants a pity to 5 out of 5, but I think what he means is just showing you where you're at in the pity because the pity's 50. Great point, actually. Yeah, great point. Maybe guarantee legendary drop in the end of the dungeon if you are helping someone below your hell levels. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that this could be somehow exploited. I think guaranteeing legendaries, guaranteeing sets, stuff like that is probably always a way into having some kind of exploit or problem or complaint about, hey, well, there's a legendary drop all the time, but only in lower, how difficult it is. I think this would probably cause more drama and issues than it would solve, but I completely agree with these first 2, okay? This guy says, like JT says, player legendary crest every day. Completely agree. Increase 5-star drop percentage. Agreed. Transmogs. Here we go. So this guy says, so much cool art going to waste. This is the real shame about it. Like, the art in game is not bad by any means. The transmog system would actually be pretty awesome. The in-game art, especially with the different appearance tiers, whoever did their job on that gear did a good job because the sets actually look like they go together. The different tiers of it look really cool. And it's not like it's bad outfits. Like, the outfits look good for basically almost every class. Whoever was the art guy really did a good job. And I completely agree that this art is going to waste without the transmogs. Visual only transmogs. When you go to the essence transfer, you should also be able to essence transfer the cosmetic look separately because they look fantastic. Completely agree with that. Increase gold pickup radius. Completely agree with this. I think most people at this point, even though I've complained about this in Undecember, would pretty much pay for pets at this point, just to have stuff to pick it up quicker. I understand everything's automated, pick it up when you're walking over it, but when you're farming stuff, you don't want to constantly walk back, or to have a pet auto salvage for you or something. I'm sure people would like that as well, but then we're going to get into the pay to win arguments, etc. So let's see here. Fair PvP, but yeah, never going to happen. Drastically increase set item drops. Completely agree. Even the super triple stats stay rare. Here's the thing. I've only ever had 1 triple drop for me in set items. I farmed plenty of set drops, and I've only ever had 1 triple. The only triple I'm currently wearing now is from the Warband and wasn't even my drop. So I completely agree that you could buff the set item drops, and triples are still going to be extremely rare. It takes a long time to get triples. For me, it's been 1 out of 100 set items, basically, if not more. So it's almost to the level of, like, you don't even think about it. You can't realistically think about it. You would have to grind thousands, not hundreds of dungeons to actually get them in every spot. And then maybe even more dungeons than that if you're going to try to get all triple in a 6-piece, etc. It's more of just, it's a piece of candy. Oh, I got this, and that's about it. Never expect that 8 players from a warband are online at the same time. I think they realize this with the recent update 4.8. It's reasonable. 3.8 is even better. The less we have of this, the better, but I think that they're understanding this point by now. Be humble and respectful. Players of devs do make a mistake, communicate and compensate with in-game currency. I'm going to say this. I feel like the devs are communicating. Maybe it's not as good as most people would like. It's better than a lot of the other games I've been in, and they're willing to communicate even when being flamed. Like, there was a post a couple of days ago on Reddit where they discussed what was going on with the blessing of the worthy. He uses this as an example as well. I'll use an example of them actually trying to communicate. I will agree that the communication was flawed, and that at the end of the day, what we received was no compensation for something that had no fault of the players alone, and only sort of a South Park BP meme of, we're sorry. Like, that's basically what we got. And so I can understand this guy's anger towards that. Be transparent with the numbers and game mechanics. Let us know what the drop rates are, how magic effect defined, etc. This is something else that this is a problem in most mobile games where they don't fully go in depth with the mechanics. I've explained this in Marvel. I told them as well, yo, you guys need to explain what your stats actually do, because literally they had multiple stats that were called like the same thing back in the game, and they didn't even explain what they did, so you had no clue. I will say that the text explanations could be better. Some of the places there's things like translation errors even. However, the one that I really think we should point out to out of all the stats is Magic Find. I still don't think we really understand how Magic Find works. I know myself, I think it's 75% Magic Find, and I have no clue what I'm gaining out of my money. So I know it's supposed to do more Magic Find, more legendaries, but it doesn't really feel that way. And plus, it doesn't ever tell you a text line. Like, if I got a text line every time I got a legendary drop, and like some of the times it says, because of your Magic Find, you got this legendary. Well, then I would get a positive reinforcement feedback where it's like, oh, this legendary is because of it. This legendary was because of it. So I think even just tagging, like when you get a legendary that you would not have gotten because of Magic Find, just saying like in the text chat in your log, like this drop was because of Magic Find, would go a long way to even give us some data to understand what this item actually does. Anyway, let's scroll down. Warband activities gained from Warband play members, remove Ember caps, set item transfers, smooth class change between Inf and Strength. This is all, so I'm glad multiple people are on the item transfer and the class change between Intelligence and Strength. I myself have been fighting for this one quite hard behind the scenes. I don't know if I'm going to move any ground on this one, but I'm trying. Make extract essence of other classes, items available when you are in different classes. Sick of hoarding items before I went to class change. I don't think this guy understands what he's saying. So currently, if you extract all the essences of all your class, anytime you go back to any other class, you will have all of those legendary essences. Maybe I don't understand what he's saying. Stash storage is true, transmog's true. So now we're starting to get into essentially, we're starting to basically get into where everyone's repeating themselves. So I think what we can really do at this point is I'm going to write up some of the more common points. I'll send them over to Blizzard, get the feedback in there. Honestly, though, like some of these stuck out more than others. The class bound cosmetics was a big pain point for people. Essence transfer for green items was a big pain point for people. Difficulty dungeons scaling was a big pain point for people. More storage was a big pain point for people. And then there's a couple really smart ones that I just want to point out in particular. I think like making like dungeon speed run leaderboards in the heroic dungeon mode, like giving ways to make the dungeons be incentivized to do, even if they're not willing to adjust drop rates, etc. I definitely think that these are some smarter ways to have that kind of move forward in progression. Some other things, refunds for gems that are broken, or at least refunding the blessing of the worthy. It's probably about time. I think I'm going to do a video discussing this separately, but I do think that this is a point that probably needs to be addressed at some point. At least some compensation. I know myself, I purchased all of the blessing worthy packs. DM Danson, he's always happy in the corner, but if he knew, looking in the future, that all the gems we had now today don't work the way that they say they do, he probably would be upset. So all that being said, thank you for the feedback. I'm going to send that all to Blizzard. What did you guys think of the feedback? Honestly, that's pretty, the community is pretty much all on the same page. Most of these comments were repeated, and most of these I agree pretty hard with. So I'll send that feedback over. Love y'all. Consider subscribing or liking or sharing the video, and I'll see you on the next one.